Hi guys, I realize my head is chopped off, but that's because let's jump right into this. Lots of really great singers out there are looking for chords to write songs, and lots of times they find what are often called first position chords, which would mean a C would be played like this, A minor's here, B minor's here, G's here. And to be completely honest with you, those chords are, first of all, they're extremely important, and it depends on the song whether or not you want to play them in their the most fundamental way that they're taught. So I don't want to take anything away from those chords, because those chords absolutely have their place. There's some absolutely some places where no other chord can substitute that chord. But for singers and songwriters, unless it's country, or even country, I guess you don't have to play your C here. You see a C like that in folk music, country music, your G. It's sort of I have a little delay on, just in case we have time, I have a reason for it. Otherwise, it's just going to echo a little bit. But songwriters who are going to accompany themselves with singing, usually, I'm going to say 90% of them are using the chords that I'm about to show you. So they're, because they have they're sort of like, I don't know what the right word is. Maybe more modern. They're not so rigid. And so, anyways, let's start right now with a G chord. First of all, if you learned a G chord like this, then you learned it absolutely right. But it's more commonly played like this, with your middle fingers on the third fret on this low E string. On the second string, the A string, your index finger is on the second fret, and your ring finger right here is on the third fret on the B string, the second from the bottom, and your pinky is on the high E string on the third fret, and your G is right here. And the reason is because it's full, it's rich, and it's also, we're going to go to a C. You'll hear this a lot. Let's see. This is a song, right? Because it's really easy to go to the C that I want to learn next. So we just covered G. The C that is most commonly used that I see, and I see it, is I've played in a lot of bands, you guys, and I've recorded on some records, and the C that I see going around, no pun intended, is these two fingers that are on your G. They both just move down right here, and we just don't play the low E string. So now your middle finger's on the third fret of the A string, and your first finger is on the second fret of the D string, and you're playing these bottom five not this. Whenever we play a C, we never incorporate a low E. It's always going to be just the bottom five. So we have the C, we have G here, and with moving these two fingers, we now have C. And this is a really full version of a C chord. And another reason why this is great, my right hand's going to come out a focus on purpose because I want to focus a little bit more on my left hand here on why this C is so popular among songwriters or guitarists that accompany songwriters, is because we can do so much once we get here. We can do so much to get different sounds out of this C. So if we want to kind of air the chord out a little bit, we'd leave everything exactly where it's at, but we just pick up our pinky and let this high E string ring open. So now we have this sound. So if we went G, down, pinky comes up. That's still C major, but it's a really nice version of a C instead of this. We've got this now. And we also have the choice, if we want to get even a different sound, I call it airing it out. In other words, just opening it up a little more, give it more breathing room. Which doesn't always mean better, it just means, that's the way my brain interprets it, is now not only can we pick up our pinky, but we can pick up our index finger and leave these two fingers where they're at and just play the bottom 5 strings. So now we have this as a C. Then we can add this. Now we have this as a C. We can add our pinky back where we were originally, and we can go straight to or. And last but not least, believe it or not, you can pick up this finger and play everything. Just the only thing you're going to be pushing down is this 3rd fret on the A string, but the situation that you're in right now, you are not going to want to play this high E. You're only going to want to play the 1, 2, 3, the 4 strings in the middle here. You're not going to want to play this low E, and you're not going to want to play this high E because it's just not going to fit. But this is a beautiful chord. And it starts here, and you're just going to play the middle 4 strings, and it sounds like this. So let's listen to when we have this. We have this C. We have this C. We have this C. The high E though, it's not going to fit so. It just depends on I mean, just modulating between those two. They're both C's, but they sound different. That you could write a song over G. So we have this C, and we have this C, and we have this C, and last but not least we have this C. Which is really beautiful because I'll show you the chord in another position. Let's say we were going to play F, it'd be right here. That's the chord that you're playing. By the time it gets to C, these are open. So to hear it in, say, D, would be here. So it's a really pretty chord. So we have D major. But we also have this D if we wanted. And we're going to get into those chords, but let's just, right now, so that's where that C comes from. It's very, to me it's a beautiful C. So now we've got G, we've got one version of a C chord over here. Remember, we're only working with the 5 bottom strings here, 5 bottom strings here, 5 bottom strings here. I'm sorry, 5 bottom strings here. And only the 4 middle strings, not the high E, not this E, or here on here. So now we have all those C's to pick from. And of course you have your first position C. First position C is just not going to, if you're looking for a nice, full, rich sound, that's going to, your voice is going to blend into real nice over the top, something like this, or this, is gonna, it's gonna go a lot smoother with your vocals, 9 times out of 10, easily, than something like this, because the chord in its first position, I don't know how to explain it. This is how my brain just, it sounds very cookie cutter sounding. And what happens is, they're what we call like campfire chords. But campfire chords are really made for people that don't really play guitar seriously. So they're not really chords that if you want to sound your best, you're going to go to those chords. Those are chords to get by on. They're certainly, unless it's folk music or country music. Otherwise, that's that. Guys, I'm going to take a drink of this beverage. Yes, it's not alcohol. I don't know. It's called Just Chill. It's something new on the market. And my mouth's drying out, so. So we looked at a G, and we looked at a C. Let's look at B minor. Okay, so we have G here. We can go. So we can go from G. We can play this chord and then come up here. Well, this mystery chord here is what we usually use to substitute a B minor for, because normally you don't hear it. It doesn't have that smooth transition that this does. So what we use instead of B minor 9 times out of 10 is, instead of going to B minor, and again, this chord, these chords all have their place. Again, I'm not knocking the chord. It sounds like I'm knocking the chord under certain situations, and certain situations that chord has to be there. So I'm just trying to give singer-songwriters a choice of, you know, what do you want to do, and more commonly than not, we're instead of B minor, what we're doing is, we're, instead of playing this G all the way down, we're just not playing this. So in other words, we're just picking up our middle finger and we're just playing the bottom 5. And then traveling to C this way. You guys might have heard me take this. I'm hitting the open D string, open, and hammering down, and then hitting the string underneath it, G string, open. have to do it. It's just right there if you want to. Let's go to our B minor substitute, which is a G. All the notes here except we're just playing this. Now we can also change this by picking up our pinky and getting only playing these notes and letting the high E ring. So instead of this chord, we can play this chord. However you want to chord it, pinky here, this finger here. So I'm bringing this finger up here and deadening. So we have G here. If I went then C and didn't put my pinky down, then this B substitution, B minor substitution, just sounds nice. Now you're walking it down. Or you can play it here and here. Or you can play here and here. So you know you can go back and forth. This is why I'm shooting this video, so you guys have the choices of, do I want this sounding? Do I want that sounding? What do I want? What sound do I want? And it's obviously up to you. You're going to be writing a song. So we've gone over a G major. What we often use instead of B minor, which is here. And we learned an alteration that is often used, which is our pinky gets lifted up. Then we went to the C and we learned one version, two versions, three versions, four versions of a C. Now A minor is played here. What I think is more conventionally done is it's just the bottom five strings when we're playing A minor, but most people just lift. Usually it gets played, it's called an A minor 7. We play this instead. Because it's not so rigid as. And again, I gotta quit going like standing up for these chords. You guys know how I feel. I'm just saying, more commonly than not, our A minor gets changed to an A minor 7, which means your middle finger would be on the 2nd fret on the D string, and your index would be on the second. This would be on the 2nd fret on the D string, and this would be on the 1st fret of the B string. And everything just 5 down, everything down from here, everything else is open. So if we went G to this version of our B, C, then we went to this A minor 7. Not only do you have this, but you can take your pinky and add it to the high E string on the 3rd fret. Or Zeppelin's got that. Whoops, sorry. So they took advantage of that. Anyway, it's normally just played like here, but you can add this. For some reason you're really wanting that high end note in there. So we've got G, B, C, 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 C. Back to B minor. lift up our pinky, we have this one, to A minor 7, or if you want to play standard A minor, you can. This is just a loftier sound, an airier sound, maybe a smoother sound. But if you want that real dark A minor sound, then you depends. This is kind of a toss-up, because if you're looking for a real strong minor, something that is powerful and really minorish, this A minor with our, instead of, we have A minor 7. If you put your this finger, this one right here, God made it especially for this chord, and I need to think of the name of it. My ring finger. You need put it. You can, if you don't know an A minor chord, I'm telling you to change it. But if you don't know an A minor chord, before you can change it, it goes on the 2nd fret on the G string, right here. And we always just play the bottom 5 on any A minors. So, and then we can lift it up. And that right there is optional. Me personally, I use this A minor 7. If I'm playing for an artist, I go there. Now right here, believe it or not, that's a very common way to play D major. If you've learned your D major here, and I guess I'm kind of assuming that you guys already know your first position chords, and how we can change them. I'm not coming in absolutely ground level here, you guys, so I'm hoping that you guys know these first position chords, or you go learn they're called open chords, because they have strings that are open, that ring. Open means we're not touching. So your first position open chords, you're going to find a D, a C like this, and then soon they're going to be, I'm showing you where everybody, not everybody, but you know what I mean, starts to play these chords. And this D right here, that definitely gets played this way. There's nothing that we really change about this, depending on the position we're in. Sometimes we'll take this note that's on the bottom, which just happens to be a G sharp note, and believe it or not, well, this is an E and this is an E, so they're both the same pitch. They're just higher, one's a higher octave than the other. So if I hit this and I came here, they'd be the same. They'd both be a G sharp. They're just an octave or a couple octaves apart, but same note. So sometimes, instead of putting the F sharp note down here, you'll hear it put up here. I guess you could put your ring finger down too, if you wanted to. It certainly isn't going to hurt matters, but it's normally not. It's normally open, and the high E's open, and you hear this. And the reason why you do is because we have a G. Then you'll hear this sort of walking down into it in E minor, or you'll hear it walk up like this. Down, just so we're And actually, well, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So we're here. So now this D actually is, I'm pressing down with my index finger on, if this is hard for you guys and you're just starting, don't worry, just practice it. Because after you get it down, I promise you, you're going to be so glad that you have these variations to go to in your songwriting. I promise you, you're going to go, wow, I really, really like this other chord versus this other chord, or I'd rather use this chord than that chord. Trust me, it makes a gigantic difference. I wouldn't be shooting this video if it didn't. Trust me. Anyway, excuse me guys, it's allergy season. I'm in California, so it's kind of crazy out here. Alright, so anyway, you're going to have this first finger on the 2nd fret on your low E string, and then the rest of the strings underneath can be played. Now, if this finger hangs over and kills the string underneath it, don't worry about it. In other words, this A, if it becomes a casualty of war, so to speak, and it gets knocked out, that's perfectly fine, because it's not an essential note for this chord. It's going to sound just as beautiful if you deaden it. If you don't, so it's absolutely, as far as I'm concerned, it's not relevant whether that A is in there or not in there. So if it feels more comfortable for you to put your index finger up here and it kills this A from coming through, fine. Just play it that way. I usually do when I get there. I usually don't make sure because it's that really, as far as I'm concerned, insignificant as to the sound of the chord. I'm using you can use these fingers. Oh, that's weird. I'm used to using my pinky, but you can use whatever you want. But I've got my pinky pushed down right here on the 3rd fret on the B string. So that'd be the 2nd string right here. And then right here on the G string, our 3rd string, if we're counting from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, on the, so I've got my pinky on the 3rd fret. I want to make sure I said that right. My brain's asking myself if I said that right. So pinky's on the 3rd fret on the B string. I'm going to take my index finger and put it on the 2nd fret on the G string. Actually, I lied. I'm going to take my middle finger and put it there on the 2nd fret on the G string. So I'm in this situation where I have this open, it's exactly the same as a D chord, but if this was lifted. But I'm switching to these fingers so I can push down the 2nd fret on the lower E string here so we can get this full. Notice that my finger's lying over there and it's killing that A. And what's good about this is we have our G here. We go to D and we put this in we put the F sharp in our bass instead of down here. Then we go to E minor. We just walked down with bass notes, which is really making these chords full. And E minor is, I don't think I'd change anything about E minor. It's just finger here and finger here. Again, I'm hoping you guys know some of your basic chords already. This is E minor. If you guys don't know, it's the 2nd fret on the A string and the 2nd fret on the D string, and I'm playing all 6 strings. But another way, if you're looking for a real dark kind of eerie sounding E minor, you can actually put your first finger on the second string, here on the A string, and you can put your pinky or your index finger, whichever you feel most comfortable doing, on the fourth string, beneath it the D string, and you can actually hit your E string, play all five, and let all of them ring open. You're going to get a really beautiful, dark E minor sound. D, play it here, G, A minor, we can play A minor 7, B minor, we can play this, or this, or C major, here, 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 or just the middle 4 here. How about that F? That's no fun. Let's learn a position for that F. I use this position a lot because this F is just so bulky, and this one's just kind of weird and real cramped up to play. And I use this. This is it is still an F chord. It's just more of a substitution type of chord, one to take the place of the other. And without jumping into theory, it just sounds like this. And it's just the bottom 4 strings. And let me tell you, I'd rather play that than this. So what I'm doing here is I've got my index finger on the 3rd fret on the D string right here. The next string, the G string, is open. If you're just starting, you guys, and these are kind of deadening out, I'm going to tell you, learning your chords, or learning these chords, your mind, first of all, it's like typing. It's like walking up to a typewriter. You're not going to type like you've been typing for 3 months, because you haven't developed the muscles and the tendons in your arm to even do it. And it's completely foreign to you. So, but you have to keep typing, and then you get good at it. And that's identical with playing chords. You're using new muscles in your hands. You're doing an unfamiliar movement. Your mind is completely going like, we don't know this configuration. And you've got muscles and tendons that you're using that you may not have used, that are going to be needed. And some of these chords are just not, when you're first starting, are just not going to come out like you may want them to. They're going to be like could be really crazy hard. I tell people sometimes that if you can get through your first chords, you can learn anything, because that's really the struggle. That's really the boot camp of playing guitar, is can sort of, you sort of see, as a guitar teacher, you sort of secretly ask yourself, is this person going to make it through their first chords? Because if you can make it through that, you've overcome, you've retrained your mind, you've retrained your muscles in your hands, you've taken the time, almost after learning these, getting yourself into learning your first chords. Some of the hardest, because you're just not, you're not, your muscles, tendons, and our mind, it's all completely foreign to it. So, it's almost one of the, it just takes time and practice. And I wanted to put that in there, this lesson, to stop everything and tell you that. So if any of this is a struggle, well, it's definitely a struggle. When I first started, I had to take my finger with this hand and had to come move my finger over. I'm not joking, and hold it down to play a chord. I couldn't even get my finger down here for a G chord. I couldn't. I had to grab my pinky. I'm not kidding. And I would put it there, and by the time I got here, it jumped up, and I went, oh, man. And I put it down, you know. So anyway, let's get back to this F chord. You can put your index finger down here on the 3rd fret on the D string. This G string is going to be open, and then your finger is going on the 1st fret on the B string, and your high E is open. So you have 2 strings that are open. So usually when I see this coming around the bend, or this, you're going to see this. That's what I'm playing. You know who I saw the other day in concert was, it was Johnny Lang. He's a blues rockin' singer type, great artist. He was up there playing a song in F, and he was playing this exact F. And then when he went to G, he took the whole configuration and he just moved it all up 2 frets here. So he was playing his G here. He was going. He's playing F here, and G here. Yeah, G here. So I guess if you wanted to play G here, you could take this F that we're using, and you could slide it all up, not 1 fret but 2 frets up. It's called and play the same exact configurations, leaving the same strings open, and you'll be playing a really pretty version of a G chord. So there's a lot of other chords that we can go over, but right there is a lot. And I tried to cover the chords that I'm trying to think in my mind that are I think troublesome, as far as not giving the singer or songwriter or someone who's really good with vocals the chord support, the full support of what a chord can do to help carry your voice underneath it, the fullness, richness, the prettiness of it. You know, the two become one. When you start singing over a chord, if you're what you play and what you sing no longer are two separate things. They become one. So it's important that you guys know these really full, rich chord positions when you sing, because they're just going to fill it up, and it's going to sound completely professional. It's not going to sound like you can barely, how do I want to say it? Like you can sing great, but you can barely play guitar. And unfortunately, there's that's what, to a musician, if we hear somebody who is just playing guitar and they're staying in a lot of this sort of stuff, right out the gate, we already know that it's taking away from their overall sound. You can't hide it, you can't disguise it, and unfortunately, you're not doing your own voice justice. You're doing a great I believe a great misjudge. I think you're not doing it justice. And if you want to take it a step further, I don't think you're giving your listener. I don't think that if you're a singer, that you're giving your listener what you have. Because if they have this sort of sort of basic chord and this beautiful voice, you're kind of just not giving them this beautiful complete package. And so that's why I wanted to show you some positions that are full and rich. I hope that this video helped you. If it did, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. I can go into some other chords and shoot another video like this that we can take some chords and tweak them and change them a little bit and bring them. Believe it or not, these chords are being used more on the radio and in pop music and even in country music, and because they're just more modern, more currently conventional is a lot of these positions that I'm playing. So anyways, you guys, I certainly hope that helped. And practicing when you're first starting really takes some dedication. But if you make it through the chord or through this process, and you keep coming back, and your finger's going to be sore, and you will get through that. You're going to work through that. And after that, you're home free. So the hardest part is this beginning part. So go ahead and don't get frustrated. You know, don't play till your fingers bleed. But if they're sore, you need to take a day off. Take a day off. But then get right back at it. That's about it, you guys. Thanks for coming by, and take care.